Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this second day event, conjunction with the Haitian Art auction. We are very happy that you joined us this afternoon. And we are also very happy that we've been offered the opportunity to work with the college in Haiti, the Creole program, the social work program in Haiti, to participate in this art auction. And very proud that we've been asked to provide the paintings for the auction. Our event this evening is going to focus really on a conversation, as it's been advertised, between some of the artists who are featured on the auction. I have with me Miranda Thompson and Fritz Duchesne, who are both on the auction. And we will also be joined by Nixon Leger and Edna Sherry. My name is Joseph Sherry, and I will be somewhat facilitating this conversation. But before we go further, let me introduce to you Miranda Thompson, who is the coordinator of this great auction. Hello, Miranda.
Hi. Hi, nice to be here and nice to see everybody.
How are you?
Oh, doing fine, doing fine. No, we're really happy to have this collaboration for Education Haiti and for the school. And the school, you know, as you know, is, we think, possibly the only school of social work in Haiti, with the goal of training really young, gifted Haitians to do that work in the country. So we feel like it's very worthwhile and important work. So we're very happy to be collaborating as part of our fundraising effort.
Well, we believe that the approach that the school has is a very important one, because we have seen in Haiti and outside of Haiti how importing methods that are used outside of a country can be ineffective, because of not being culturally appropriate and culturally sensitive to the native of that country. So to develop the capacity from within the country to provide the social work services is a very good approach. And that's why we're so happy to support it.
It's also kind of what the social work approaches are, because we're really trying hard to integrate things that work in Haiti with what we have to offer. So that even in the education, we're trying not to make it just an import of what you would do here, but an integration of what we have to offer and what already works there. So, you know, that's our effort anyway. That's our mission and our effort.
All right, so why don't we get going, and let me allow my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Mimi this year.
Fritz Duchesne. I'm so glad to be part of this great event.
Yeah.
And Nixon, are you there?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nixon Leger. I'm very glad to be part of this event. And hopefully we have a beautiful moment together tonight. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. All right, so why don't we get going? Let me just start by setting the stage for this. I am a member of the Haitian Artists Assembly of Massachusetts, as are all these artists. With me and is Nixon Leger and Edna Sherry, who will be joining us later. This organization is started really back in 1995, and we have been promoting Haitian art throughout the New England area. We have about a good 60 member artists that cross from paintings to dancing to poetry, performing art and visual arts. And we take great pride and great joy in bringing the Haitian culture through its art to the public. I have been painting since, I think from what my father told me, since I was 2. And I'm happy to say that my daughter also started painting at 2. Unfortunately, she won't be doing this thing. And she does have a lot to say. Every member of the assembly is really a seasoned artist. We have some new members who have started recently and have excelled very, very rapidly. Hopefully in the future, you get to meet some of their work. So let me not ramble too much. I like to paint. I enjoy painting. I find that painting is an extension of my expression and my civic activities. And I'm sure that all of you have something very special that you find in your art development and production. So, Neil, let's start with you. Tell us a little about you and about your work.
Well, let's say, like, I studied to paint. I was 4 years old, and I was at Jacqueline Chuyen Cardozo. Something happened, and I realized that whatever I touched that day would stay with me for life. I do enjoy painting quite a bit, not for the reason some people would think, but I think it's one of the most amazing thing I can use to meditate, or I would say it's my prayer. So no wonder that I do it that way, because it allows me to focus and to see and to connect with others.
All right, Fritz.
Yes, born in Plaisance, it's the northern part of Haiti. And then I went to elementary school and secondary school in Gonaïve. And I spent most of my childhood in Gonaïve, going to the Christians Brothers School. And there, you know, they always give some drawings to perform every week. And I started there. And later on, still in elementary school, I started doing some aquarium. So then I performed some oil paintings. So I look at the nature of Haiti, all the beautiful mountains, all the rivers, birds. You know, I was interested in communicating with those subjects. And in the meantime, I really went deeper later on, dreaming about Africa, you know, seeing, even not traveling to Africa, but you can see all the big forests in Africa, all these animals living in there. So we are all connected. And I enjoy paintings. I left Haiti, moved to the US in 1981. And then since then, I never stopped. And I really enjoy it, and I'm continuing to enjoy life, you know, through arts.
All right. Nixon?
My name is Nixon Leger, born in Belance, and left Belance about 7 years old, go to Port-au-Prince for attending school. Went to art school in Nantes, graduated, and come back here, come back again in school, and have a couple of years. But before I go further, I would like to salute the memories of for Icon and Haitian Art. It's a Claude Nambreville, it's a Charles, and 2 of my professors that I was close enough to talk about them is Frank Lucin and Casimir Joseph. I don't have any painters in my career that we were close enough with 2 painters. It's Casimir Joseph and Frank Lucin. And actually I have about 22 22 years of career. I paid a lot of things. Like Joseph said earlier, art is like a tool for me that I use to express my mood, my joy, and have a conversation with others, friends or family, and the public in general. So I'm waiting for more question later on because I don't want to say more.
All right. Okay. Here is a painting of Nixon. I was flashing some paintings as he was talking. Edna is, looks like Edna is having some difficulty getting on. She just texts me, but we'll continue, she'll continue to try. So let me ask you this. Yes, Mimi, you say that painting is also a form of meditation for you, it's a prayer for you. But what is it that you really are trying to do, to say, or to achieve when you pick up the brush and you stand in front of the canvas?
Well, since you asked, I'm going to tell it to you. See, painting for me, it's love. Because you see, I could have done anything else. What do you call that? And I have an accounting degree. However, there is something inside of me that makes me relate more to the colors. And in my case, as a Haitian-born woman who has spent my childhood over there in my teenage and traveled in the United States as a young woman. So there is something that each time I was thinking about coloring or painting, because like you have to have an education, my mind keep going back home. But it's not in the places that people think that my mind was going back. It was about telling a story, the silent one that we have lost our word for it. And when I say it's about love, it's because, if I didn't have that connection and that love for my people, and it's not the right word to say my people, for what I have observed as a child, I do not think that I would have been able to paint, because it's not, they told us it's not a job, but it's an expression, and I really think so. And by practicing it, I'm learning that language that is very silent. And it's only by practicing it that I'm able to convey. And the end game is it's not what people think. It's at the end of the day, I'm at peace with myself. To know that I've done what I'm supposed to. Because we can do so many things and not finding any satisfaction and joy, but with art, I'm able to communicate in many, many ways. I can make a painting and write a messed up story about it, or a beautiful story. So in that concept, I would say art is my love story. I connect with it, I play with it. It gives me a lot of drama. It makes me feel alive. What about that? And I'm done.
Makes you feel alive.
Yes.
How about you, Fritz? What is it that you really are trying to achieve or to say when you are painting, when you stand in front of that canvas?
See, I've done a lot of observation, about the people on the whole planet, the way they live, the way they react, to each other, and sometimes it's there's a lot of violence, among us, and then I'm trying to teach something. I'm trying to say that we can live, we can have a good life, we can have a peaceful life on earth, but we can only do that by giving respect to everything in nature, including ourselves. And And I'm trying to do that through those elements, the paint. Where did we find the paint to express ourselves? Everything comes from nature. We come from nature. The paint we're using also from nature. And like we look at the trees, for example, the water, the rivers that's flowing, we all are in need for those every single minute, every single day. And if we talk about the oxygen that keep us alive, and it's about all those trees. The trees are like filters. All these leaves from the trees, they are like filters, but they make us live longer. And then I can pay attention to all these little details in nature. And then also, I would say, all the great spirits of nature. They gave me the wisdom to meditate, to try to understand their presence. And that gives me something that I can share with others so they can change their way of looking at each other and then their way of surviving, their way to live longer and better.
Nixon, please jump in anytime.
Okay. To answer your question, first of all, I want to engage the conversation, but especially I want to be present in art. When I take my brush, my goal is to either engage conversation, try to do something creativity that doesn't that people doesn't see before, because I want to be present. I want people, when they see me, they see, oh, this is new. I want people with my that if I wasn't there, there would be something missing. So I don't paint just for show my skills. I don't even know if I have skills, but I want the public to know that I am present as an artist.
You exist.
Yeah, that you exist. See, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That when you paint, you want to exist. I find that when I'm painting, it's really a way for me to transcend my reality. I pretty much float over everything when I'm painting. I am not there. I'm no longer conscious of my environment. I am fully into the canvas. One of my hardest challenges is to have conversation with people while I'm painting, because I can't really do that. I am so into what I'm doing. And the funny thing is, when I say I'm so into what I'm doing, it's really a misnomer, because I don't even know what I'm doing. Usually I go to the canvas and allow the canvas and the brush to dictate where I go. I don't have a destination. I may start with an idea, but the idea is not a destination. By the time I'm done with this painting, it has nothing to do with where I started from, because I allow it to lead me. So I find that the most fascinating about the experience of creating something, to allow it to really become itself.
Doing that erase our ego, and because we become irrelevant at that moment, it's whatever we are doing. That's why we can use it as a tool of healing.
I'd like you to repeat that a little louder.
Okay. When we are painting and we are really into it, we basically erased our ego, whomever we are in reality. We are no longer that person. And because we are able not to exist at that moment, we can use it to heal our body. That's really spooky to say, but that's what we all notice. And we just say we are no longer, we become the tool. We don't exist at that moment. We let ourselves be used for that craft, for that cause.
Fantastic. We are a vessel. We become a vessel.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, people always say that I always ask people, you know, why they think that other people, I don't ask people why they do. I ask them, why do you think people buy art?
Yeah.
Because it is a non-threatening question. Because if I ask you, why do you buy art? Then I'm getting too personal. I ask you, why do you think people buy art? It's easier for them to answer a question. And they say usually that because they like it, because it's beautiful, because it fits their style, or it fits the decor, you know, like that. I always say, and I do believe, that people purchase art because they are not purchasing art. They're purchasing a story. There is always a story behind every piece of art that we come in contact with. And that story is really the impetus for buying a piece of art.
For myself, I would not be even bothered about that question, because you could also ask, why do artists buy art? Because you're creating art and you can always see somebody else's work and you say, oh, I want to buy that one. You know, I want to own that piece. That's for another artist.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a need that it's beyond questions. You know, it's something that you don't have the power over.
I'd like to go deeper into this. Yes, I mean, yes, we produce artwork, and we sometimes even fall in love with the pieces that we create. Why do we buy other artists' work? Nixon, why do you?
Buy other artists, what I mean.
I think for us it's easier to answer this question, why we buy art, because I want to talk for myself. I value art. I love art. I understand art. If I have to buy something, I know why exactly I have to buy. It's not because it's beautiful, but it's because I have a connection with the piece, or either the artist is someone important in the field, and I can purchase the art. I say I have a piece. So it's just how I can relate to this question.
So let me throw this question out. Right? You have a painting or a sculpture at your house, and a guest is looking at it and asks you, wow, where did you get this and why did you buy it? Now, my first impulse is generally not to say where, nor why, but the how. How I got to this piece. You know.
Or if you want, I can add. You know, sometimes I take things a little deeper. It's like I mentioned to someone. I was doing Uber back in the days. I was talking with a lady. I said, even though you don't drink wine, you need to have wine in the house. I think it's something about education. So I had this problem when I first started painting. I asked my professor Kazimi, why a piece of art costs such a lot of money? Why a piece of art is $1 million? I didn't know. I couldn't understand why. But when I get into art, when I have the knowledge, I understand why we put value on art back in a lot of centuries. So if the person have more knowledge about art, he or she will understand clearly what exactly I have to buy a piece. because I can't see a house without an image, even an art or a beautiful picture. You should have something, but some people might see it differently. But I know myself. If you have, I mean, I don't have the words, but a little knowledge and everything, you will see the importance to buy at least one piece of art, at least some of that is important for your life. This is a life thing. So you can. It's hard to listen to a friend of Picasso or Van Gogh. They were close friends or family. They don't have any piece of art of those persons. So we miss that, and we continue to miss that because knowledge is important in this part. I have family, I have friends, but they don't have any on my art. Or either they go to Walmart to buy print. So they don't understand why I'm having a piece of art in their house. And that's the problem. That's why it's become difficult for some people to understand the value of it.
Okay, if I want to continue this conversation, I would say there's always going to be a great demand for arts in general. It's because if you look at any art, any piece of art from an artist, there's even if you just done a subject, a tragic subject, and through that tragic subject, the way the artists use the paints, use the colors, you will see something beautiful through something tragic. So that's going to always question anybody's mind. That there'll be an infinite questions on that piece. So that way, any piece of art always keep talking to you every day you wake up. So it's an ending conversation.
Never ending
conversation.
That is true. That is true because what the artwork brings to you changes over time. What it means to you also changes over time. But there's still always this constant line of connection that never changes. But I saw Charles Lucien was in the audience, and I was just about to invite him into this conversation. Charles Lucien is the founder of the Haitian Artists Assembly of Massachusetts, and he's also a storyteller and art historian. Yesterday, he did a fantastic talk about art, the Haitian art, and its contribution to world history. Charles was among us, and I wonder if you would like to say a couple words about some of the stuff that we're talking about here. Charles, are you up to that?
Not quite. It's your time for the conversation, but I am happy to say hi to all of our friends. We have a couple of them who are still trying to get on, but I like the piece that you raised about why some artists collect or buy artworks from their colleagues. So I've been on this road of buying artworks from you, Joseph, Fritz Duchen, Mimi, and what I found as a person and as an artist, they are part of others, part of the other, that's also complement me or complement us as human beings. So my search to collect artwork from other artists is a way for me to complement me, to complement my own self as a person, because we all have to share those different skills, those different riches that we have. And that was kind of my take when I tried to have a piece of this sense of aesthetic that each artist carries, either in terms of concept or in terms of style. So I feel richer having artworks from you as my friends and my colleagues than just having my having my own piece. So that was what was crossing my mind here. I also want to say, in terms of what's happening here, that we are doing this because ultimately we as artists and our artwork, there's a mission to them. And this mission in this case would be to support those social initiatives that are going to improve the lives and the conditions of folks in Haiti. So I'll stay there, but again, happy to be with you this evening.
Well, thank you. Now, this is interesting because Charlotte just brought up an interesting point that art is, we acquire art because it becomes part of us. When he said compliments me, what he's really saying, I think, is it becomes an extension of me. So we acquire art, we produce art as a means of expression, an additional means of expression. But what Charlotte is saying is also that we acquire art as a means of expression because we are using your work, for example, I'm using your work to express something. So by collecting your work, I am actually making a statement.
Yeah, it's like there is a part of that, the mind of that artist that belongs to you too when you're an artist and you buy another artist's work. I think I do find having an artwork that I didn't make anywhere in my place is having a book. But instead of having the book with pages, I put it on the wall and it's repeating different stories to me all the time. That's the way I see it. It's a book.
I like this.
Book, like, you know, it's fulfilling to look at a painting on your walls. I don't put pictures, just the paintings.
So what you said earlier and what you're saying now are the same things, really, say differently. You say that the work continuously talks to you, and it tells you a different story every day.
Yeah.
And you're saying the painting on your wall is a book, and every day it flips a different page. This is great. And at the same time, it is a means of expression for you looking at it, which is why I say that when anyone buys a piece of art, it is not the piece of art that the person is purchasing or acquiring, it's the story.
Yeah.
The story.
They enter, they see themselves in that painting. Sometimes you see the ocean or the river. No, automatically I sit down and go inside that painting and stay there for a little while. Okay. Yes.
Fantastic.
And I also can say that we all artists, whether you are a dancer, you are a poet, or you are a sculptor, we all are free people. You know, you feel so free by having the privilege of expressing yourself, you know, at your own convenience, and then trying to, I mean, not to teach people, but trying to make people understand life a little bit better than it could be seen by others. But you can create your own world and you can be free in your own world. And then you also encourage that freedom to be for like every single one of us. So that's the benefit of being an artist.
And the benefit that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Yes. I find it one of the most fulfilling activities for me. I really don't know how to formally meditate, but I do know that when I pick up the brush, and I don't do it often enough, but when I have the time, the luxury of time to do it, I know that it really takes me somewhere where I can't take people with me, except when they are standing in front of my finished work.
I can understand.
So I go through the journey of producing the work as a preparation for you to go and jump on the canvas and continue that journey. So the story that I am writing or that I have written on that canvas is only the beginning. It's really the preface of the story, because whoever acquired that work and whoever, forget acquiring, actually whoever is standing in front of it is adding to the story, is writing another chapter, an additional chapter to it. So, but that would be an interesting project, don't you think? To actually have people parade in front of one piece over time and collect that chapter which they have written while standing there, looking at it.
Interesting, yes.
The never-ending story. I love this.
So that's why they call sometimes they talk about masterpieces. It's not just one masterpiece an artist will have. One artist can have some masterpieces. Those are the pieces that the artist himself or herself will always have to watch, even if he or she sold that piece, but always that piece come back to him or her, because those are the pieces that he loved the most or she loved the most.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. I always have this problem with the masterpiece concept or expression. What constitutes a masterpiece? If every piece of art is an unending story, if every piece of artwork is a book that flips a page every day, a different page every day, that tells a different story to the viewer, if that is the case, then isn't every piece of art a masterpiece? Because they all achieve the same. Now, is it a masterpiece based on skill? Or is it a masterpiece based on creation?
You know?
Yeah, I think it's creation. I think it's creation because there's problem too in defining what is defining arts and a craft, the artisanal, right? And yeah, because we have all those discussion earlier when we were in school of art, because students always think that every paint they do is a masterpiece or is an art. But I think it's require more in terms of not special skills, but there's a package of because we need emotion, we need creativity in the piece. So that's not something easy to describe, but sometimes in abstract painting talk more than a realist painting. So that's why you try to say there's a story in the painting. Yes, there's a story in a lot of paintings, but some paintings, especially abstract painting, sometimes you don't see the story, but sometimes you see a connection of with you and the painting. It's like a spiritual connection that you can't even explain. That's what happened to me a lot of time. I have paintings. Oh my God! Every time they say me, what you try to do now, to do in this piece? I sometimes I can't, because it's not something I drive before I paint it. Is that something I just paint? I don't even know where the image or where that come from. I don't know. But the spiritual connection, for me, is very, very, very important, because you can't look at an art every day and say, wow, I like it, but I don't know. I can't say why. I can't say why I love it. It's very important to think about this part.
Joe, if I can chime in here, I was going to actually chime in and say that I agree with Nixon here, because the history of art is clearly peppered with thousands and thousands of artists who are highly skilled, well-trained, who can give you a perfect portrait. However, in the history of art, I think that we've seen that these are the ones who started to break conventions, to go outside of their comfort zone, who started to paint in an unconventional way. I think that's what brought us Vincent Van Gogh, brought us Gauguin. That's also what brought us some of those
Basquiat.
part of the
Basquiat, indeed.
primitive. That's correct. You talk about Basquiat, whose artworks recently sold for $140 million. And over time, it's going to get even more expensive when you are going to factor in insurance and popularity and all kind of other factors. So I think ultimately this is the emotion, this is the willingness to break barriers, to come up with something new that's going to attract and touch people. So that's why some of those, again, abstract paintings, some of those so-called naive or primitive paintings, some of those surrealist paintings. That's why also you got Picasso, who was a classically trained painter, started to leave behind the conventional painting to try his Cubist style that was based on his exploration and his connection to Africa. So ultimately, it's more about, yes, emotion than skills.
I would say I agree with Charles because myself, I can take myself as an example because I'm a self-taught artist. I really never had any academic training, you know, and I really taught myself, you know, how to paint, how to really draw, because I love, you know, doing all these things. And then I said to myself, since I love something, I'm going to be looking for some very good accomplishment, you know. So at the end of the day, I said, I'm going to do something that people would like or people would love. So I satisfy myself while I'm trying to satisfy others.
Well, I'm looking at the time, and our audience has been pretty patient. Yes. And I'm sure that, and I hope that we have kindled some interest in them. And I'm certain that there may be some questions out there for us. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask away.
I have a question. And my question is that with the different styles that, you know, all of you here have as artists, they still seem in some way very distinctly Haitian. And I'm just wondering if that, you know, living in this country, is that part of you keeping a connection with Haiti? Is that part of just what comes through you because of your background there? I'm just wondering what that relationship is for you.
I'll answer that question. The same way I came here about 35 years ago in the United States. I still have an accent. So our paintings, wherever we go in the world, we are going to pick up the same thing because it's part of the mind. What we remember, whatever we try, the same accent that comes in our tongue is the same way the pictures in our mind comes. We cannot switch it. Even if we try to put something that is very American or very Canadian, you will see a little hibiscus, always something, or we would put a velvet just to make sure that it reminds us of that center field that we came from.
So yes, it is the filter, our cultural filter, the filter through which we express. I like this. analogy to your accent. So yes, when you're looking at the Haitian painter, whether or not he's been out of Haiti a long time, just like his language, the painting also has that accent, the Haitian accent. That's great. I love
But
that.
also, I would say, where you coming from, are a very important part of whatever you're going to be doing in life, because just like, you coming from your mother, how are you going to say that, you didn't have a mother? You didn't want to show your mother. So wherever you travel, wherever you end up being, you still have that same DNA, and you still are true to yourself. If you are true to yourself, you remain that same one that you're going to be at the end of everything.
Charlo mentioned something like that yesterday when talking about the paintings from Haiti, or in the, I think in the 40s or 70s, where, no, actually much earlier than that, where Haitian painters were painting scenes that they had never experienced, really. Forests with tigers and lions.
Ice cream,
You know,
yes.
so, and I think, if I remember correctly, Charlo, you called it the DNA memory.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I was paraphrasing Salvador Dali by talking about the persistence of memory. What Miranda is here to me, having seen hundreds of paintings over the past 25 years by all those New England artists, I was able to come up with some kind of theory where I saw two movements. One was those artists were paintings and were promoting Haiti as a form of a denial of their geographic reality. So they are here in the US at the same time, as you pointed out, refusing the admit that they are not in Haiti. So they're painting, they're embracing those sceneries, they are making those sceneries even more beautiful that they may have experienced it. To me, was a form of denial that they were not in Haiti. So that would be one. The second piece that I saw was that paintings, for many of them, was also a form of protest. Whenever something happened that had to do with expression of discrimination, prejudice, stereotype toward Haitians, many of those artists started to paint pieces that were to protest, to say that this is not who we are, this is not how you are labeling us. Either in the beauty of their work to showcase that we as human beings or our country is different, or either by having some strong body expression in their paintings. I have a vivid memory of one of Fritz Duchesne's paintings where this hand is rising in a very defiant mood. Mm-hmm. So you might be right, Miranda, clearly those paintings, either by expressing denial or by expressing defiance, or by expressing the taking of a stance, clearly will reflect who we are or where we came from.
Now, what you say about the denial, I understand very well, but I would rephrase it and say that it is really a bridge. It is it's the umbilical cord that they refuse to cut. I cannot let go of Haiti. So everything I do, everything I produce is gonna have an element of Haitianness in it. Mm-hmm. All right, so anyone else with questions?
Hi, I'm Roger. I'm one of the teachers at the school and Miranda's husband. Something Nixon said about communication, about a dialogue or a relationship between the painter and the whomever, whether it's the person who will be watching it or somebody who is in the painter's mind at that point. I'm not a painter, but I do a lot of writing and stories and other things. And I sometimes notice that I have someone in mind, or if not a particular person, I have some audience like feature in my mind when I'm doing what I do. And I just wondered if anybody wanted to comment on that. Who do you paint for? Or do you paint for someone at a particular moment in time? Or have someone in mind when you're painting ever?
And for myself, the first person that I paint for is really myself. Because the part that many people are asking, why there are so many Asian artists? Well, guess what? It's not every time during history that there is such as clusters of artists from the same country, meaning something is happening. And I can tell you, it's not about this person or that person, because you can have all the skills, but you cannot paint. But when you see a cluster like that, keeping that torch alive, we don't even know why we are doing it, but we are doing it first for ourselves. I hope I answer that question.
Now, Roger, to answer your question, I don't paint with anyone in mind in terms of recipient of my work or beneficiary of my work. However, though, when I am painting, there are some things that I try to do that bring a particular person to mind. So yes, in my mind, I may bring up people that are pretty much models for me, and whether it is in behavior or in expression or in thoughts or in actions. So yes, while I do not paint for anyone, I do paint with sometimes people in mind, because they help to inspire where I'm going on that journey.
You know, just like Mimi said, first of all, any artist would do it for himself or herself first. But we use the art as a very deep weapon, because if I got hurt, and then the only way, the best way that I can answer or I can fight back is that weapon that I own. And then it's a weapon that is not going to make bloodshed, but it might even hurt you more, because it's gonna question your mind. It's going to question your deep thinking. And then that might even ask you to do it better, or to ask why I did something against somebody else that's not going to please them. But my way of answering is using my art skills and my paints. That's
Yeah,
how I
Roger.
answer.
Yeah, I would say yes. I have that's even my subject. I have not someone, but a group of people in mind. If I portray a Black woman, because from slavery, history of humanity, you have different canon. So we live. When I was in school, we have a aesthetic course. So talking about beauty. So when I portray a Black woman, I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm talking to some people who don't see Black women as beautiful. When I have subject about spiritual, and I'm saying exactly to someone that if you believe in this, if you believe in that, so that's. I just propose something. So that's different my subject. I have something in mind, but not this music. This one is as a focus on music. So I'm trying to have a feeling that I express, but that's what all of people will love music. I mean, Haitian music, you see Jones and Connie, but not especially this piece. But some subject, I have a group of people in mind. exactly, because I know we have different mindset, different opinions, different beliefs. But when I do something about a specific subject, I have a good people in mind.
All right, well, thank you, Roger, for this question.
So Kirti,
I think,
I see Kirti's hand up. Did you want
Yeah,
to?
yeah, I've got one. Part of my and yeah, I guess part of what interests me is kind of how art can be used as a weapon, as you said, for peace. And that's kind of the idea that, you know, you said, Mimi, you said, as an artist, I'm painting first for myself above all else, right? But subconsciously, I guess, art is also used to, is it used to achieve another goal of portraying peace, right? In the past, present, and then looking forward to the future. How does that take place in, you know, in the art itself?
I'm not sure what the question. I don't. Is it talking about the process, or because I didn't get the? Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah, I guess how does, you know, depictions of art and peace, like art and peace, take place within the artwork?
Yes, art and peace, because I think I tried to put it when we said a cluster of artists are in Haiti, and it has been going on for the last 50 years. So it's to bring the question for Kitty that said, or do we the art bring peace? We are in that process. The Asian people, some of them have amazing, what you call that? They have education to be constipated about it. However, they take the time to pen, because that's what it's about. The Asian people are in trouble. We are in pain. We don't know what to do. We try everything, the books, the education, the this and that, it's not working. So guess what? We get that, and it's very simple, because you don't need an education to pen. You need to have that emotion, that connection for you to connect with others. And it doesn't mean that when you are doing the artwork, that people are going to see it. It takes that process too, because after all, if we do it the right way, and it's time for it, people will see it, but it doesn't mean that they are going to buy it. But truly, I really think that's the process. All those artists, they are everywhere, okay, in Haiti. It doesn't mean that they do the same quality of artwork, but it's also to see the strength. And there is something interesting too, that when it's out of that subject, but when they are giving visas in my own land, they give visas to the artists, because they know, the psychologists, they know what peace it can bring to an individual and to a country like Haiti. And the struggle is inside. We don't have words for it, but we are saying it in color.
Let me say, Kirti, art and peace, unlike a book where you can, as a writer, develop and get very deep into explaining and analyze a situation, the painter has a very small surface and space to actually achieve the same kind of work, whether it is educating, communicating, but the work that is being asked of the person who is reading or looking at the piece of artwork is different. Because When reading, we are receiving a lot of information. When you are in front of a painting, you are doing a lot of introspective analysis. You are doing a lot of introspective discoveries. So the process is different. So therefore, the approach to bringing you to moving toward peace is to actually have you do that work yourself. So the artwork is the catalyst for this journey toward peace. The book does also take you on a journey, but the book pretty much can lay down the path to get to it. Whereas the painting pretty much opens the door for you to discover your own path toward that peace.
If I can add something, there could be several levels to this question. Not to make it personal, but let's share here that there are two artists who are members of the assembly who've gone through experiences that were terrifying in terms of personal loss. So I'm putting on the spot my friend Joseph Sherry, who lost his son back around 1993. I am talking about also his sister, Edna Sherry, who lost his son at the age, he was 28. Both of them went through this stage of grief where they used painting, evoking memories of the ones that they lost. And then I understand both from Joseph and from his sister that actually Edna Sherry took on painting a few moments after the loss of her son, initiated by Joseph. But I understood from them that painting the ones that they lost brought a sense of internal peace. That tells me that painting first can serve this first level of bringing peace to humans. The second level, I would say, think about it, the United Nations through UNESCO has been actively investing into plans, investing funding to bring culture, to bring art across the globe and to facilitate artistic exchanges. It's because the universal language of the art help other people understand more about other civilizations, about other people, and as a result, you have a better sense of peace. When a Haitian artist brings his artwork to Russia, to Venezuela, to Czechoslovakia, to France, to Spain, suddenly those people who have these horrible stereotypes about Haiti, remember, Haiti is about old people, about HIV and AIDS, about political instability, about the poorest nation of the hemisphere, about anything you think that's bad has been about Haitians. So when art now start being promoted or is promoted in other places, suddenly they have another view of Haiti. And you can see now that those barriers started to vanish and you have more communication. People who are more educated about themselves are in a better position to start working and to start implementing peace. Now, let's not fool ourselves. There are instances because you have some of those nations, those peoples, those demographics who've been so battered by prejudice and stereotype that their artwork has been a form of protest. You take any or most of Fritz Tüchten's work here, they actually are powerful advocacy tools against anti-immigration laws, against anti-racial prejudice. You take many of Nixon's artworks, again, they are all about powerful affirmation of our humanity as Black people or as people who came from a particular part of the world. So I think as we are hoping and promoting and using art for peace, we are also keeping in mind that there are some instances where you are so battered, so crushed by all kinds of stereotypes that art has to become a weapon of self-defense. So it goes both ways, I would say.
Yeah, I agree, because there is the art itself bringing peace, and there is the art itself promoting peace. Those are two different things. One of them is simply a more like a public health service that is being provided to you. And the other one is one that is an interactive journey where you are going with the artist on the journey toward discovering peace. But that's a different type of peace. You know, the art that is bringing you peace is an internal peace. The art that is promoting peace is one that is taking you toward taking action to promote or to bring peace around you.
For example, if when in terms of talking about art and peace, that's what the artist's work being are doing. The artist's work are trying to shed lights when there's conflict, you know. For example, we all would love to have peace in the whole world. But how could you say you want peace and you're not trying to end hunger in the world? Because there's a proverb in Haitian that says, "Chien grand goût pas jouer." That means if you are hungry, if a dog is hungry, you know, it can become very enraged. And then at that point, you know, the dog doesn't really care or wherever cross him, and it'll bite you. But the hungry dog doesn't play. So if we're promoting peace, we got to also care about all the places that the people are dying of hunger. Because the great God that we talk about every day brings us everything that would help us not to become hungry, because that great God is everywhere, and that great God gives us the water, gives us the trees, the land, and the strength to the people. So we got to see it in a different way, where everyone, even every one of us would not have the same opportunity, but everyone would not go to sleep hungry. So, you know, there's a lot more that we can meditate on, you know, like health. Health should be something that everyone should have access to. So you don't try to privatize it and then make people suffer. Because when you are hungry, even if you have a headache yourself, you see how it feels. But you try to get rid of somebody's headache. And that's the main thing to do, to have peace of mind, and then peace on earth. So we really got to look out for each other.
All right, this has been great. And I think if no one says anything, we're going to keep going like this all night. But we promised our audience that this was not going to be too long. We've gone for a whole past an hour now. I think we should probably call it quits for now.
Yes.
But before we do go, I want to thank once again, everyone for joining us tonight and for participating in this conversation. And I'd like to invite Miranda Phelps to give a closing remark.
Well, I'd just like to say that this conversation for me gives a whole different dimension to the works in the auction. So now when I look at the works, I can think about all of you who painted them and what you had to say about them and your thoughts and feelings and ideas. And so I think that's great. And one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to make this conversation into a YouTube so other people can access it. We can send it to people and people can access it, because I think it's really very worthwhile and very important. So thank you for that. What I'd ask is if you can let people in your networks know about the auction, because I know you all know the people who love your work, who love Haitian artwork, who love your work. And that would be really wonderful to encourage people to come and see the beautiful work that we have. And so I also just want to say that we have 2 more repeated events. Let me just make sure I've got the dates right here, so that Burry, who just gave a presentation that was wonderful and went really well, is called How Code Noir Changed My Perception About My Skin. His will be repeated Friday, April 30th at 7, and Charlot's on Haitian Art, Retrospectives and Perspectives will be repeated Saturday the 1st at 6 p.m. So if you weren't able to come before, but you can now, that would be great. If you want to encourage other people, that would be great. And just thank you very much.
But one last thing. For those of you who will be attending the auction, by bidding and purchasing one of these pieces, remember that you will be contributing to the great work, the great social work development that is taking place in Haiti. Also remember that an artwork, as you've heard tonight, is never completed, even after the artist signs it and hands it over. The story continues, and it's you who will continue to write that story along with your family, your friends, and your guests. So acquire something.
For the grandchildren, I'm sorry.
Yes, acquire not a painting, but a story. Go on a journey with an artist. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Pleasure.